So we want to look at the last form of the linear relation. We looked at the slope-intercept form 2 videos ago. We looked in the last video, if you're watching them in order, which hopefully you are, to the point-slope form, and now we want to look at general form. All right, and we're just gonna edit this because I want to change. Maybe it won't let me edit it. Never mind. There we go. I want to change these to capital B and capital C, so they match what we're talking about. But this is general form. AX plus BY plus C equals 0. So A is always positive, B and C are always integers. And you probably noticed that in each of the forms, it gives us different information about the graph. So in the slope-intercept form, the 2 pieces of information we get are the slope and the y-intercept. With the point-slope form, the information that we get is a point and the slope. With the general form, what we get directly, or at least almost directly, are the x and y-intercept. So we can get 2 points. The x-intercept by setting y equal to 0. Okay, and if you set y equal to 0, just to show you where we're getting this from, then in this equation, we just are left with ax plus c equals 0. So that means that ax is equal to minus c if you get the x by itself, and then you get minus c over a, all right? And the reason I'm saying we're left with that is because if y is 0, that term goes away. All right, now, if we do it for the y-intercept, we let x be 0, so that means that term goes away, and we're left with by is, plus c is equal to 0. So that means that by is equal to minus c, and so then y is minus c over b. Okay, so we can get our y and x intercepts very quickly from this form. And because we only need 2 points to draw the graph, once we have the x and y intercept, we can draw the graph. All right, pretty simple. So to find the x-intercept, you just let y be 0 because you're on the x-axis, so the y value on that x-axis is 0. And then to do the same thing with the y, to get the y-intercept, you let x be 0. All right. Now, what we want to talk about is, okay, how do I convert from one to the other? So how do I, first of all, move slope-intercept form to general form? And then how do I move the point-slope form to general form? So if we want to move y equals mx plus b into that general form, ax plus by plus c equals 0, all we do is move all the terms to the left side of the equation. We just move everything over. And then if the slope is a fraction, we just change the signs. Okay? So we just multiply everything. Sorry, we don't change the signs. That's the third step. My bad. If it's a fraction, I'm getting ahead of myself, then we want to multiply the entire equation by the denominator so that we get rid of the fraction. And then if x is negative, we want to change all the signs. Okay, so let's follow those steps with this equation. So I'm going to first of all bring everything to one side, which means I'm going to write this as minus 3 over 2x plus y minus 2 equals 0. All right, all I did was bring this over, make it negative, and bring this over and make it negative. The y is already there, so it stays positive. And then what we're going to do, there is a fraction, and the denominator is 2, so I'm going to multiply everything by 2. So that's going to give me minus 3x plus 2y minus 4 equals 0. And then x is negative, and I don't want it to be, so I'm going to change all the signs. So it's 3x minus 2y plus 4 equals 0. So that's my general form from the slope-intercept form. That's how you follow those steps. All right, if you look at another example, same idea here. We're going to bring these over. So I'm going to get 1/4 x plus y minus 3 equals 0. And then there is a fraction. I want to get rid of that fraction, so I'm going to multiply everything by 4. So that's going to give me x plus 4y minus 12 equals 0. And that is my equation. All right, now, what happens if I want to convert the point-slope form to the general form? So what we do, remove the brackets first, then we move everything to one side, okay? And then what we do after that is take the fraction, if there is one, and get rid of it. Now you can get rid of the fraction first if you want to, and then expand the bracket. It's up to you. but you want to basically remove the brackets, move the x values and everything to the left-hand side, and then change the signs. So we want to do this in stages by, first of all, removing the bracket. That's our first step. So we're going to write this as 3/5 x plus 6/5. Then we're going to move everything to one side. So we're going to get minus 3/5 of x plus y, and then minus 1 minus 6/5 equals 0. Then I'm going to put these two guys together. So 1 is 5 over 5, if you write it as a fraction. So I'm going to have minus 3/5 of x plus y minus 11 over 5 minus 5 minus 6, okay, equals 0. So that's what I'm going to do there. And then I'm going to, there is a fraction and I don't want it there, so I'm going to change this by multiplying by 5, but I'm also going to change the sign because x is negative, so I'm going to multiply by minus 5. So that's going to give me 3x minus 5y plus 11 is equal to 0. And that's my general form of the equation. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. If you look at this one, same idea. So I'm going to go y plus 2 is equal to 3 over 2x minus 12 over 2. So 12 over 2, I'm just going to write as 6. Then I'm going to bring everything over to one side. So I'm going to have minus 3 over 2x plus y plus 2 and then plus 6 equals 0. So that gives me minus 3 over 2x plus y plus 8 is equal to 0. And then what I notice again is there's a fraction there. I don't want that, so I'm going to multiply by 2, multiply by the denominator, but the x is negative, so I'm going to multiply by negative 2. So that's going to give me 3x minus 2y and minus 16 equals 0. And that is my general form of the equation. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. It's relatively easy to switch. Now, the other thing that we do is we actually use the x and y intercepts to find the equation. So what I'm going to do, if you jump back all the way to the start, we've derived little formulas. We basically said the x-intercept's minus c over a. Okay, so if we jump back to our question, all we're going to do is say the x-intercept is going to be 18 over 3 and 0. Okay, minus c, so minus 18, switch sign, so positive 18, and then over 3. So that becomes 6 and 0. And then the y-intercept is the same thing, except it's y minus c over b. So it's 0 and 18 over 2. And that gives me 0 and 9. Okay, so I find the x and y intercept and then I plot them. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 0 and 9 is up here. Unfortunately, it's run off my grid. And then 6 and 0 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is right here. So then I just connect those points with a line. Okay. And there we go. And then it says verify the graph is correct. The easiest way to verify that the graph is correct is pick another point that's on the graph and plug it into the equation and see if it works. So I'm noticing right there, that's a point that is going to be on my graph, and it's the point 2 in the x and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the y. To verify, I'm just going to go 3 times 2 plus 2 times 6 minus 18 should equal 0. That's what we're saying. So we have 6 plus 12 minus 18 equals 0. And I get 18 minus 18 is equal to 0. So that means 0 equals 0. And I say, yep, that is correct. So I can verify that my graph is indeed right. Okay, if we do another example, same idea. The x-intercept here is going to be just minus 9 over 1 and 0. There's no number in front of the x, so we treat it as if there's a 1 there. So it's minus c, so you just take the opposite of 9, minus 9, opposite sign, I mean, and divide by 1. So my x-intercept's minus 9 and 0. My y-intercept is going to be 0 and minus 9 over 3, so that's going to give me 0 and minus 3. So we're going to draw those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's minus 9 and 0. And 1, 2, 3, there's negative 3. So there's 0 and minus 3. So we have x and we have y, and we're going to draw a line through them. There's my line, and again, use a ruler. Whoops. Supposed to be moving the line. There we go. Down, go through those. And then again, to verify the line is correct, you just pick a point on that line, preferably one that goes through a grid line. So I'm going to try to find one that does that. It looks like that one does. So that's minus 2 and minus 1, 2, 3. So minus 3 and minus 2. And then we just plug that into the equation. So minus 3 plus 3 times minus 2, plus 9 is supposed to equal 0. So that means minus 3 minus 6 plus 9 is supposed to equal 0. So minus 9 plus 9 is equal to 0. 0 equals 0. We say, yes, that's true. So that means my line is correct. Okay. Now, if we have C over here, the only difference is that you just divide the numbers. So the x-intercept here, instead of dividing it by negative 24 over 8, it just becomes 24 divided by 8 because it's on the other side of the equation. So that's going to be 3 and 0. And then the y-intercept is just going to be 0 and 24 divided by negative 3. So that's 0 and minus 8. So the only difference is that if the number is already over here, if C is on the other side, you just have to divide by the x and the y numbers, or the coefficients. You don't have to change the sign. Okay? All right, now, here's another one. It says, determine the slope of this line. So how do we find the slope from this? So one way to do it is to solve for y. So if I have 3x minus 2y minus 16 is equal to 0, that means that minus 2y is equal to minus 3x plus 16. You just take these two over the other side of the equation and change their signs. And then you divide by negative 2. So y becomes negative 3x over negative 2 plus 16 divided by negative 2. And that translates into y being equal to 3 over 2. The negatives cancel, and then minus 8. Okay, so you can do that, and then you can look at that and say, my slope then is 3 over 2. Okay, so you can find the slope by rearranging the equation. Now, the other option is to find the x and y intercepts and find the slope that way. So if I do that, I have 3x minus 2y minus 16 is equal to 0. So I'm just going to go 3x minus 2y is equal to 16, which means my x-intercept is 16 over 3 and 0, because it's just that number divided by the coefficient of x. And the y-intercept is 0 and 16 over negative 2. That reduces, so I'm going to write that as 0 and minus 8. Okay, this doesn't. And then the slope now becomes, if I label these as x1, y1, and x2, y2, okay, then the slope becomes minus 8 minus 0 divided by, and then 0 minus 16 over 3. So we get minus 8 divided by minus 16 over 3. Now, what we do then is, if we're dividing by a fraction, we invert and multiply. So we're going to multiply by 3 over 16, negative 3 over 16. So the negatives are going to cancel, okay? And 8 divided by 16 reduces to 2. So I get 3 divided by 2. So my slope is 3 over 2, which is the same result that I got up here. So whichever method you prefer, I think this is probably more efficient. Just solve for y. And I would recommend that you use option 1, but you can use option 2 if you want to. So let's just do another example. 5x minus 2y plus 12 equals 0. Again, I'm going to use just option 1 because I think it's more efficient. So I'm going to go minus 2y is equal to minus 5x minus 12. And then y becomes, I'm going to divide by negative 2. So minus 5 over minus 2x minus 12 over minus 2. And that becomes 5 over 2x plus 6. Okay, so that's my slope-intercept form, which means my slope, which is what I'm actually after, is 5/2. All right, so we're just going to sort of try to tie this all together by just saying there's three different equations. They're in three different forms. So the question is, how do I match each one? So the first thing I'm going to recognize is this guy, I know the y-intercept right away. So I look for the y-intercept of 3. Okay, that's the piece of information I get right away. And that is graph B. Okay, that has a y-intercept of 3. The other two do not. So I've automatically got that one. This one, I know that it goes through -3 and 3. So I'm going to look at -3 and 3, and I'm going to say, there's -3 and 3. It goes through that point. Okay, and then it has a slope of -4/5. So what that means is if I run 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I should be able to rise -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We say, yes, that works. So that means that this graph matches that equation. Okay. Now this guy, the easiest way to do this is to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So the x-intercept here is -15. So now plus 15, you switch that sign, divided by 5 and 0. So that's 3 and 0. Okay, so we look at 3 and 0, we say, where is the the x-intercept at 3 and 0? And it's right there. Okay, and then we just check the y-intercept as well. The y-intercept would be 0 and 15/4, which if you just divide that, gives you 3.75. So you're getting pretty close to 4. So just to see if that matches, and we say, yes, it does. So that means graph A is that equation. So for any form at all, you can substitute a point on the graph into the equation and see if it works. Or you can always rearrange all of them into the point-slope form, or sorry, slope-intercept form, I mean. But the easiest way to do it is match it by, if you're in slope-intercept form already, look at the y-intercept first and then the slope. If you're in point-slope form already, identify the point and the slope and see if that matches. And if you're in general form, find the x and y intercepts. If you kind of look at this, this is what I'm saying is you can always go back to slope-intercept form. You can always rearrange everything into slope-intercept form. But that's not always the most efficient method. The most efficient way of doing it for general form is to find the x and y intercept and see which graph matches those x and y intercepts. For slope point, there we go, form, find the point and find the slope and match those. And for slope-intercept form, find the intercept and the slope and match those. All right. So there's some practice here. Again, you can pause the video and try those questions if you wish to. But this is the end of Unit 6, all the linear function stuff. So basically, these are the things that we've talked about if you go through all the videos. The first video we talked about was how to calculate slope. Then we talked about parallel and perpendicular lines. Then we talked about slope-intercept form. Then we talked about slope-point form. And then we talked about general form. Okay? And in each case, in each of these forms, what you have to be able to do is write an equation, given information, state the information from the equation. So if I already give you the equation, you should be able to tell me a slope and an intercept, or a slope and a point, or the x and y intercepts. Okay? And then you have to be able to graph the equation and get an equation from the graph for each form. So that's kind of what you need to be able to do. So we'll leave it there. And you can find, if you have Teams and your teacher is posting the review sheet there, you should be able to find that. And also from your textbook, there's extra review. So you should be able to figure that out based on all the videos. And that's the entirety of the unit on linear functions.